They don't just undercook a hamburger. Because we watched Season 7, Episode 15, The Showerhead. So, Katy.
Hello.
How'd you like The Showerhead?
I didn't know this was going to be Elaine's opium episode.
Oh, yeah?
Which I have seen, I guess, or heard reference to.
Yeah, I think both Vulture and Screen Crush were like, what this episode did was warn people that if you eat poppy seeds, you can test positive for opium.
Is that true? I think you have to eat a lot of poppy seeds.
We'll get into it.
Okay. Did I like it? Yeah, I guess I did. Did you?
I did. It was like fast. It was snappy.
Yeah.
There was some laughs.
I think more than once you laughed out loud.
Jerry, like, excitedly, like, calling into the phone. And then, what?
What number is this?
What number is this?
Yeah.
But The Showerhead was written by Peter Mellman and Marjorie Gross. It was directed by Andy Ackerman, and it aired on February 15th, 1996. This was actually the very first, Jerry getting a low-flow shower head was the very first story that Peter Mellman pitched to Seinfeld, and that was in 1991. So
they finally let him do it.
5 years later. Hold on to your dreams, kids. So we like this episode. Vulture.com ranked it as the 135th best.
How? Why?
Do you want to play Spot the Mistake again?
Yes.
If nothing else, this episode serves as a public service announcement. Don't eat a lot of poppy seed muffins unless you need to pass a drug test. Oh. If nothing else, this episode serves as a public service announcement.
I'm going to keep them all.
Just wait until we do the episode. I'm going to do so many takes.
No, you're not. It's going to be one and done.
If nothing else, this episode serves as a public service announcement. Don't eat a lot of poppy seed muffins if you need to pass a drug test. Really. Otherwise, it's more or less a come-down narrative after Jerry's parents are dramatically evicted from Del Boca Vista.
How can you get this wrong?
Doesn't make sense that they were evicted from Del Boca Vista. Like,
he doesn't watch the episodes, right? This is from memory.
Remembering. Yeah.
Yes. And so he wouldn't remember
Phase 2, The Pines at Mar Gables?
Sure. He wouldn't remember Jerry telling the whole bit.
No.
He wouldn't remember Frank Costanza going, they don't want us there, so we're going. How can you rank George's parents' episode so low? They automatically elevate anything by 10 to 20 places. And I would argue Jerry's parents too. Maybe 5 to 10. You're just on Instagram.
I was actually following the link that Vulture.com had in their synopsis, linking to the USADA website, directly to a page, do poppy seeds contain a substance that is prohibited in sports?
Is opium prohibited in sports?
While poppy seeds don't actually contain morphine, the seed can become coated by or absorb opium extract during harvesting. Opium is the milky substance that is extracted along with the poppy seeds from the seed pod of the opium poppy after all the petals have fallen off. The opium is composed of roughly 12% morphine, which is a narcotic that is prohibited in competition. According to the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA prohibited list, morphine is a threshold substance, meaning that WADA-accredited laboratories determine if a sample is positive for morphine when the level of morphine in the urine is greater than 1.3 micrograms per milliliter.
And how many muffins would you have to eat to reach that?
So I'm going to tell you a little story. There was one day where I was taking the TTC home. I was at Kipling Station, and a guy came up to me and asked me if I wanted to donate money to the United Way. I said no. And then he proceeded to tell me how to grow poppies and harvest opium and then make a opium tea.
Wow.
So I think you need to take like 5 pounds of poppy seeds and like boil that down into like
A slurry.
Well, you boil it, I think, with 5. We probably shouldn't tell people.
Have you, hold on, I have to interrupt. Have you heard that How to Make Crystal Meth song?
I have.
I'm going to insert it here.
Never take cough syrup, mix it up with iodine and lye. Never take cough syrup, mix it up with iodine and lye. Never take the strike pads off a matchbook or go to a hardware store and then look near paint thinners from reactric acid. Never go bring a pot into a rapid boil or get hydrogen peroxide. Never go to a farming store and then buy pH strips and PVC pipes. Those fuel cans that make outdoor grills light. 'Cause that's how you make crystal meth.
During Prohibition, they would sell yeast blocks with warnings about, and it was instructions on how to make beer, but it was specifically like, whatever you do, don't use this yeast to 1, boil water, add barley and hops. So don't make opium tea, kids.
What would have happened if you had given money to the United Way?
I don't know.
He would have made the tea already and just given it to you.
I can't remember if it was like a clipboard or he had like one of those like UNICEF donation boxes.
I was actually also trying to take transit. I had to take the bus home the other day from downtown, and it wasn't a clipboard, but I had a huge notebook in my hands and a bottle of soda and I think my phone also, and it was raining. And so my hands are full and I'm like walking to the bus stop, and someone said, "Excuse me, I see that your hands are full, but would you like to add a Bible to that?"
Uh-huh.
And it was so funny. I just like violently shook my head no. I didn't know what to say. What were we talking about? Opium. Yam Yam. White Lotus. Shanghai Sally.
So Vulture.com ranked it as the 135th best episode. Screen Crush also had it kind of low at 121.
Wow.
IMDb had it at the 71st best episode and an 8.4 out of 10.
That's a great score.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I don't know. Whatever. This was a very good episode.
I think it was, yeah. I think it was good. Could it have done without the tag? Maybe. I imagine you weren't a big fan of the tag. There was, however, a yin to that yang of Jerry using the low flow, or Jerry using the low flow, and then like Kramer using the high pressure one.
Did I miss the Jerry?
No,
oh, okay. Speaking of the tag, Kramer has framed art in his shower.
He does? In his shower?
In his shower. Like, he closes the shower curtain and there's art in there with the shower head.
I might need a... We'll make that the Instagram post.
No.
Fine.
Listen, when you run the accounts, you get to decide. So who are the guest stars?
So this episode had a myriad, a plethora, a gaggle of guest stars. There was Wayne Knight, Estelle Harris, Jerry Stiller, Liz Sheridan, Barney Martin, Len Lesser, and John O'Hurley. Jay Leno made a brief appearance, but we're not going to talk about him. There was also Ron West, who played Dr. Stuttgart.
Can you say his name again?
Ron West?
No.
Ron. I think you're laughing because it's short for Ronald. Stugatz?
I think they say Stugatz.
It is Stugatz. Stugatz.
Isn't that an Italian swear word?
Stugatz.
Yeah.
We'll have to check that in corrections and omissions.
Okay.
He was in Burn Up Excess, Sour Grapes, and Third Rock from the Sun. We also had Tim DeZarn, who was the...
showerhead guy?
He was a showerhead guy. His role was listed as salesman. He was in Deadwood, Star Trek Voyager, and Murder 1, Diary of a Serial Killer.
I really, really thought you were saying diarrhea. Murder 1.
Diarrhea.
is the number one killer in places that don't have clean water. Okay, I'll read the synopsis. Jerry and George push their parents to move to Florida. Jerry's building gets annoying new low-flow shower heads. Elaine tests positive for opium. I laughed when I read that in the synopsis.
You did.
Well, I wasn't expecting it.
Let's throw it back to last week. See if I remembered this one. The building installs low-flow shower heads in all the showers, and so they have to try and get some gray market shower heads.
And?
I think I nailed it.
So the stand-up starts with Jerry saying, there comes a point in your relationship with your parents where you can't talk to them, you just eat. Mm-hmm. What you talk about is what you ate or what you're going to eat.
Mm. It's a food-based economy. What are you going to eat next? Did you like that?
I laughed when Jerry said, the worst is you get into arguments about what you like. Mm-hmm. And I love that he chose pumpkin pie because it's disgusting.
He said apple pie.
No, he said pumpkin pie.
Apple pie. Check the tapes.
Apple
pie.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin pie is disgusting. He was talking about apple pie.
He 100% said pumpkin. Why would I write down pumpkin pie?
Apparently you've had too many poppy seed bagels. Roll the tapes back.
My mother will argue with me about what I like. Can I have a piece of pumpkin pie? You don't like pumpkin pie. I have never seen you eat a piece of pumpkin pie.
Well,
I want you to clip.
I left space to clip it in there.
I'm glad.
And now we see who's right.
We do.
All right then.
Uh-huh.
Derek was wrong and Katy was right.
Celine's pretty jazzed. She's going to go on a trip to Kenya, meet the Maasai Bushmen, see their sandals and knock them off.
The sandals. So, I know she works for a private company, and I know that private companies can order drug tests of their employees. Can they read the full results?
This whole thing seems like a HIPAA violation.
of your urine panel? I laughed out loud when Mr. Peterman says, I'm afraid it's your urine, Elaine. But also, Dr. Stugatz looked like a terrible boss I used to have.
Oh.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you do know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
I thought he looked like him. He also had the dead fish demeanor and weird complexion and hair. Mm. Who's simmering with boils?
George is kind of like perplexed that Elaine wants to go to Africa. Do you know how hot it gets there? You'll be simmering with boils. It's like 150 degrees. What's the hottest temperature on Earth? Do you want to play over-under?
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to set it or do you want to over-under me?
I'm going to over-under it.
142 degrees Fahrenheit.
Measured or where people have experienced it? I'm going to say measured over. But like, has anybody felt 142 degrees Fahrenheit? No. Are you comfortable with the under?
So wait, you taking the over?
I'm taking the over, measured.
Hottest.
I like how things that I say, you're like, we'll do it in post. And things that you say, we look up live.
So according to hottest recorded temperature ever recorded on planet Earth.com. No. According to Wikipedia, there's an article called Highest Temperature Recorded on Earth. The answer is 134.1 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 56.7 degrees Celsius.
Maybe I was thinking of 50 degrees Celsius and got confused with 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Mm. Were you confident that it was under that?
I thought it was like 140. Mm. And I was using Fahrenheit because I knew it was Death Valley.
Do you remember when the city of Toronto started handing out low-flow shower heads?
I don't. I do remember I was at apartment. I had a door-to-door sales guy come by, and he gave me foam. It was like from the city. It was like, here's like foam you can put around to insulate your hot water pipe, and it'll like stop the hot water from like the water in the copper pipe from cooling off and, wasting that energy.
How much of your pipes were exposed?
In the literature that he gave me, in the pamphlet, it literally said, this can save you pennies a year.
Wow. And someone's job was to go around and hand that out.
Yeah. Print up the pamphlet. Why did we print this pamphlet?
Yeah.
We wasted more energy.
So was he actually selling something else?
It was I think it might have been giving you like a thing to put on your tap that would reduce the flow.
An aerator or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
oh, do you ever get a tap? Usually in like an old restaurant washroom or something that doesn't have an aerator on it, and it just pours out. Such a nice feeling.
straight from the source.
I love that. Let's take off our aerators.
Sure. The utility sink doesn't have one.
I think it does because the water comes out at like.
I think it comes out so vigorously.
No, I want.
It's an Adonis.
I want like a steady flow,
Mm-hmm.
medium pressure.
Yeah, turn it down from high. And
I want it to like burble out of the tap and like
burble?
Yeah, burble. Like I'm putting my hands in a running river.
A burble? Is burble a word?
Well, we'll look it up later.
That burbling brook?
Burble. Make a continuous murmuring noise. A stream burbled through the woods. Or of an airflow to break up into turbulence. The air no longer flows smoothly over the wing, but burbles and slows down, decreasing lift. Continuous murmuring noise.
The wing was physically breaking up the wind, I guess.
It burbled it.
So Jerry's getting annoyed because his buffer zone with his parents is gone. They've moved back from Florida in disgrace after having been impeached.
Mm-hmm.
And they're staying at Uncle Leo's, and now every call is a local call. They're popping in. He's seen them all the time.
He's got to deal with the poppin'. So they've bought a place at Del Boca Vista, but they don't want to be in Florida.
Not ready to go back yet.
Yeah. So they're in seclusion at Uncle Leo's.
Uncle Leo's shacked up with his girlfriend, Lydia.
I think we both laughed when George and Jerry are discussing Uncle Leo having a steady girlfriend. And George is like, so he's having regular sex?
Yeah, I know. It kind of devalues the whole thing.
So I also laughed when Jerry's dad phones to ask when they need to be at the studio for the late show. And he's flabbergasted that they tape in the afternoon.
How long have they been doing this for?
30 years. I never thought about it. I listen to Conan's podcast regularly, and he talks about when he had the show, some of the things that happened, like before taping, during, and stuff. And in my mind, I'm picturing the nighttime.
Mm. You didn't know it was...
I mean, I never thought about it.
Oh.
I thought you work on a late show, you work at night. Like Saturday Night Live-ish.
Saturday Night Live is...
Live, I know. But I put everything at the nighttime.
Tonight Show, not live.
It should be called the Later Tonight Show.
I do like this kind of, I'm going to say yin and yang again, of Jerry and Uncle Leo at the diner.
Mm.
The first time that they're there, Jerry's, oh, you got to get out there. Come on, get back into your apartment.
You're a swinging bachelor. You're in the prime of your life. Got great skin. And then later you're on the verge of death. You find someone who puts up with this, you cling to them.
Like grim death, which is not too far away, I might add.
I wrote Terrible Jerry.
Uncle Leo refers to Lydia as a real tiger.
Ugh. Did Uncle Leo get some work done? He's looking fresh.
He might have had his eyebrows done.
Like trimmed?
I think maybe they were like tattooed on or like drawn on.
I know what you're referring to.
Oh.
Even though we haven't seen it yet. I did like when George goes to his parents with the brochure.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, these New York winners, ugh, who needs it? And his mom just goes, so George, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
She knows his bullshit.
I wonder if they were like, okay, we got to like read a reason why George would go over there. And they were just like, his mom could just ask why he's here.
Yeah. He's trying to sell them on Florida. They've got Hyali.
You can bet on it.
I don't bet. They have dolphins. You can swim with them. I don't swim. So then we get the visual gag of Jerry and Kramer and Newman all with shampooey, non-fluffy hair. They're very fluffy-haired men, all three of them.
Yeah, I wonder if like that was the 90s.
I mean, it was.
It was because of the 90s.
Volume.
I get that mousse.
What does mousse do? I think we've talked about this. What does mousse do?
I want to say Gore Vidal. Who's
Vidal Sassoon?
Vidal Sassoon. Yeah. Gore Vidal Sassoon.
Some VO5 hot oil up in there?
Like, isn't mousse just, it's hairspray, but it's like a...
Mousse?
Mousse?
Is it for hold, or is it for volume, or is it for shine, or is it for body?
It's for holding volume.
Or is it for texture? What does it do? I'm pretty sure we've already discussed this, and I have no recollection of
maybe
what mousse is for.
I mean, as a child, I used mousse.
In your hair?
Where else would I use it?
When I found it in my grandparents' bathroom, I sprayed it all out in my hands and played with it.
It's not Brill cream.
Kramer goes to Elaine's work, and he's asking for the good stuff.
Yeah, this is a pretty good misunderstanding.
I think this is one of the best tie-ins of storylines that I can remember. Like a very organic meshing.
And Jay Peterman overhears them.
Throws out Kramer. Fires Elaine. Can you fire somebody because they have a drug problem?
There was an episode of King of the Hill where...
Not what I was going to guess you'd say.
Where they were going to fire an employee from the propane store because they had a drug problem.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, before you fire me, can I just like... I can't remember. He'd leave and then like I'll come back by the end of the day. And when he left and like put himself into like a recovery program and came back and like state law was like you can't fire someone for a drug problem if they're like in recovery. So maybe not. I don't know. I imagine if you're
if you're selling drugs.
Well, like,
at work.
yeah. So, you know, Kramer was there to get drugs from Elaine in Peterman's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be fired for that. I think you can pretty much fire anyone whenever you want, as long as you give them severance.
There was no mention of it. She'd probably just buy more smack with it. Costanzas go visit Jerry backstage at the Tonight Show. Estelle says, I'm so nervous for you. Jerry goes, actually, I'm drunk.
So the conversation between the Costanzas and the Seinfelds here reminded me very much of the conversation between Jerry and the Maestro talking about villas in
There's
Italy.
None available.
There's nothing of it. Like, how'd you get one? Oh, I got lucky.
Yeah.
And it was almost like word for word.
Yeah.
That, but it didn't like, they didn't play back to that or it didn't like, I don't know.
Was it just lazy writing or was it an actual callback to
know.
the Maestro?
I didn't pick up on it or like know that it was a thing. I've never heard of anybody make reference to it, but now having like binged whenever I noticed it.
I maybe just don't remember. Why do they not get along?
The Seinfelds think that they're like, that the Costanzas are over the top and crazy, and the Costanzas think that the Seinfelds think that they're too good for them.
Okay. Well, they inform George that they've decided to move to Florida, and he jumps in the air and he goes, I'm so happy! Pause. For you! I also wrote, flat-haired Jerry worries me.
Why does he worry you?
I didn't like looking at him.
There was something very off-putting about... I felt like Kramer, maybe because Kramer's hair is like so extreme, it made him look somewhat more normal.
Yeah.
But Jerry and Newman especially, like, they looked...
sinister.
I was going to say like sad
Russian.
clowns. Yeah. I didn't want to say it. A little Eastern European.
Yeah, sad clowns.
Yeah. You know, the Serbs apparently very fanatical about their showers.
Not from what I've seen.
There was a lot of racial tensions between all of the anti-Semitism and the.
This was a bit of a hot topic episode. A little racy.
The weird racism about Serbs loving their showers.
And then Elaine accosts Mrs. Seinfeld for her pee.
I need a favor.
What are you going to do in there?
Abed, you cannot ask someone that.
Smells.
Maybe
What you
use a
doing here?
coffee cup, a juice glass, a milk glass.
Oh, Jerry doesn't wash these very well. And Elaine's got osteoporosis and she's in menopause. She can't go on the trip.
But she has her job back. What kind of tests are they running through this urinalysis?
I don't think your pee can tell you about your bones. I don't think they're connected.
The pee bone's connected to the bones.
I wrote, can private companies demand your pee? But my question was really, can they see all of your results?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, I know in Canada you can't do drug testing, but in the States you can. Do they do the results go to the workplace and then the workplace tells you about it?
Yeah.
I don't think you get like medical records. I think it's just like
you request, I need to know whether this person has taken drugs, and they say yes or no.
Exactly.
And they don't say, by the way,
yeah,
raging diabetes over here.
I mean, that's what I assume would happen in Canada. In the States, I imagine. I hire a doctor to give you a drug test. That doctor works for me.
Exactly.
I get to tell him what to do. I want you to have my swim trunks. What does he want with your swim trunks? Why should they go to waste?
That was a very odd ending to the episode.
It was good.
I don't know. I guess it wasn't the end. We had
Was better than
Kramer and the
tag.
CGI shower.
The CGI shower?
I feel like they added laser beams out of that shower head.
Okay. We'll have to screen. We'll isolate the pumpkin pie / apple pie sound. We'll check the scene for the artwork in the shower, and we'll do some video analysis to see if extra shower beams were added in post.
It was very bright. It was very sparkly. It looked like CGI.
That's the Commando 4000, Katy.
All right, that's all. I had some corrections.
Sure.
So in the last episode, they said Marissa Tomei 25 times.
Okay.
She was only on, they wrote her into the show because Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David liked the sound of her name.
Marissa Tomei.
It's fun to say. There will be a Hocus Pocus 3, so there is 3 Bette Midler movies, I know.
I caveated that, saying you were not allowed to say Hocus Pocus.
She was in First Wives Club.
Oh, okay.
I thought she was in Death Becomes Her, but she was not. And I looked through her IMDb and I didn't. She's in Beaches, but I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah. I love that movie. I've never seen it.
You asked me about Gas X.
Oh, yeah. How does Gas X work?
So
It physically chops up the farts.
listen, I was right. It's called simethicone.
Okay.
It is an anti-foaming agent. It breaks down gas bubbles in the stomach so the gas can easily be burped or passed by the body. It chops up the farts. So Beano, on the other hand, I don't know if we talked about Beano.
We talked about it not on the podcast, but when we were talking about Gas X, we did bring up Beano.
So Beano is an entirely different thing. It's a digestive enzyme
Right.
to prevent gas. But did you know that it only specifically prevents gas from a couple of foods? 6 things. Can you guess them all?
Beans.
Yes.
Are we going into subcategory of beans? Like,
No.
I'm thinking of other FODMAPs.
What is that?
It's an acronym for a type of food that has a certain type of carbohydrate that is hard to digest.
Okay.
Pumpkin?
Nope.
Are there any other vegetables?
Yes.
Avocado?
It's not a vegetable, and no.
Culinarily, it's a vegetable.
Okay. You won't get one, so I'll give you peanuts. Which is,
It's
I
a
guess is a legume. Okay, fine, but it's
Cashews?
not a sub. No more nuts.
Onions.
No.
Bread.
I'll accept it. Whole grains. You got 3 more.
Eggs.
No.
Cabbage.
I will say no. No. It's no.
Lettuce?
Yeah.
Mm.
And what's the other side of cabbage?
What's the other side of cabbage?
If cabbage was in the middle of lettuce and another thing, what is similar to cabbage?
What is the other side of cabbage? This is like a deep philosophical question.
Okay, would you not in a spectrum of vegetables, would you not put broccoli on the other side of cabbage? It is a cabbagey thing.
Lettuce plus broccoli equals cabbage.
Exactly. And the last one is carrots. You probably won't guess carrots. I thought it was just you eat it and then whatever you eat can't give you gas. I didn't realize it was specific things.
Well, like that enzyme has to work on something.
I guess. And I couldn't remember the dumb name of the new Cadillac. It's the Celestique with a Q at the end.
Oh, I looked it up and I thought we were talking about the Lyrique, which also has a Q at the end.
It does. I've heard of the, I'm going to just call it Lyric. But the Celestique, terrible name. And it looks like a Cybertruck.
I did mistake the story from the Old Testament that I mentioned.
Rosie and the Riveters?
Rosie and the Rug Makers. It was Rachel and the Rug Merchants.
No wonder when I Googled it, I couldn't find anything.
You should look up the Rosie and the, Rachel and the Rug Merchants.
So you're going to make me look it up again? You just looked it up and you're not going to tell me what it is?
Yeah, because I got the name wrong.
Okay, writing it down. Rachel and the... This sounds like a band from the 80s. Martha and the Muffins. Rachel and the Rug Merchants.
So what's on tap for next week?
The Doll.
So Susan has moved in with George, but we've noticed that the apartment is still heavily decorated with George's stuff. So Susan moves in some of her things.
Where have they been?
I don't know. I guess at her old apartment. And she brings in a doll that disturbs George.
I can't wait.
See you next week.
Bye.
On Close Talkers.
Don't do that.
Believe it or not, this is our podcast. Please subscribe at the end. If you subscribed, we would be happy. Please subscribe to us. Believe it or not, it's our podcast.
Is that a Seinfeld reference?
Have you ever done opium?
No, I've not done opium. Have you?
No.